And yes, thank you so much to John and to Scott, Cheryl, Joel, and Steve for joining us. I'm very careful with inviting heads of school because if I actually put out a call to all of the 130 schools that are members of the GRC, we would have more panelists than we would have candidates. But this is kind of the core of people that can share their experience and their insight. And when you take a look at the different topics, they really are, there is overlap and synergy between them, but they're also very personalized and specific to their perspective. So hopefully you'll get 90 minutes of one-on-one kind of coaching from these master recruiters. So again, thank you, dear colleagues, for being here. Switch to the next slide, Rubia. I think it's interesting for us to share, some data from our GRC panel, from our GRC database. So right now, and also remember, we're just moving into October. I'll talk about that in a minute too. We're just moving into October, but as of right now, the openings that we have on our database, a couple hundred openings, this is how they fall. So if you're sitting there as a candidate and you're thinking about, okay, I'm a mathematician, 13% of almost 300 jobs are now opening up in the mathematics, physical education. This slide alone, I think the panelists and I could talk on this slide alone for hours because physical education, how many schools hire locally only? How many hire expat physical education people? Counseling, what's the counseling? Is it, social and emotional? Is it college counseling? But this is just kind of a snapshot of our data of the schools that have put their openings into the database. And then down there on the bottom, you see kind of the leadership roles, which are just exploding right now with the GRC. I'll talk a little bit about leadership roles in a minute too. Go to the next slide, Rubia. Okay, so for people that know me, I really am a kind of a data freak and I really enjoy numbers. And I was looking at our dashboard today and I said, let's share some of those with you. So the GRC has been around for 15 years. And what I'm sharing with you is very much based on our research and our trends. September is when many schools begin to ask their educators to let them know whether they're going to extend or not. So really, when you look at the numbers I'm about to share with you, this is the beginning of the recruitment season. Numbers then start growing in October. And by December, most schools in Africa, the Americas, and in the Middle East and in Asia have had their teachers confirm whether they're coming back or not. So again, when you look at these openings, they're really going to be, by the end of October, only about 50% of all global openings will have been confirmed. That's good and that's bad. That's good in that there are still more going to come. It's bad in that sometimes the school or the region you want to go to won't really have confirmed openings until February, and that's Europe. That's the United States. If you're looking to return to independent schools in the United States, they won't even put confirmed openings until like May of the year for the following year. So again, it's very important that people are consistently looking at the website for updated openings because they happen every single day. Next number, Rubia. Kind of speaking to that right now, we have 260 vacancies. And typically between October and November, our numbers jump from 260 to 600. So we will more than double the number of vacancies between now and when we are going to be headed into the Bangkok Fair. And then we're going to be taking a look at the Atlanta Fair, which is in December. And then we'll have the Amsterdam Fair in February. But also, these are the fairs. Remember, online openings and online recruitment and online, everything's happening every single day. Positions are getting filled every day. Right now in our database, we have 13,000 active candidates. That means people who have left their file active. I'm looking for a job. So the recruiters have access to 13,000. But when I look at that 13,000, I asked my team today, I said, really, how many of those 13,000 are 100% guaranteed looking for jobs? And the 3,500 have been updated. So 3,500 of you, the candidates, have updated your profiles in the last couple of weeks, which means you're actively seeking. Just think about that for a minute. There's 3,500 teachers out there that are actively looking for jobs. And right now we have 260 vacancies. The math is actually in the recruiter's favor at this point. There is a large group of candidates, and the jobs aren't at their maximum number yet. In fact, just in the last 4 weeks, 500 new educators have registered on the GRC looking for international jobs. Many of you might be here right now as part of that number. Bring up the next couple numbers, Rubio. So, how active is recruitment today? In the last week, there have been 8,000 unique visitors, whether recruiters or candidates, that have gone into the GRC database. So, it is very active. Of this 8,000, I would say not more than 200 of them are going to be schools, right? The other 7,000 and something are going to be candidates that are, these are unique visitors. We're in the tens and 20s of thousands of visits. 8,000, let's just say 7,000 of you, the candidates, have come to the GRC website to look at the openings. So that's also important for the recruiters to know. People are looking, and if your school's not posting current valid openings, they're not looking at your school. One of the numbers that jumped out at us this year is 30% of the 8,000 visits have come from teachers in the geographic United States. This is one of the higher US unique visitors we've ever had. I don't know what this means, but it's interesting. It's very interesting that 30% of the visitors are coming from teachers that are at independent or public schools in the United States. They're looking to move overseas for the first time, B, looking to return overseas for whatever reason. But that's an anomaly, that 30%. Another thing I have to share with you is we are discovering that artificial intelligence loves the GRC, because something like 25% of all visitors have been told to visit our website through ChatGPT or another AI algorithm. So it's nice to know that the AI has chosen us to be one of their favorite recruitment platforms. Do we have any other numbers on that, Rubio? Okay, right now there are 20 plus leadership vacancies posted for those of you that are looking for that. And that could be athletic director. It could be, director of teaching and learning. It could be an assistant principal, a head of school. So again, leadership vacancies 3 or 4 years ago, the GRC didn't have too many of them. But since we got into the leadership search business, we're picking up more traction there. And lastly, on numbers, before we jump into our presentations with our experts, the Bangkok Fair is looking very exciting again this year. As of today, a month before the fair, we have about 270 candidates and 40 schools registered. We think that those numbers are going to, at least the candidate number will probably increase by another 100 in the next month. And we're going to cap the schools at about 50. We'll won't have more than 50 schools show up. But for candidates, we'll definitely break 300, 350. So for those of you that are saying, should I or should I not go to the Bangkok Fair? My take on this right now is if you're ready, if you've made a decision to move on, if the schools that you're looking at are going to Bangkok, it would be a very wise decision on your part to be there. So let's just go right into it. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody else, welcome back. Great 45 minutes. Our questions in my session were just getting started and we had to come in. So what I think we'll do with this 15 minutes, and we're on a tight clock here, is let's get to the chat and people start putting in questions that they would like for this panel of recruitment experts, which we really are, to take a look at how we might answer them. Meanwhile, while the questions are being generated, what might be interesting is we just go around the room, maybe starting with Steve, and after Steve, I'll go to Joel, and then I'll call a couple other people. What were 1 or 2 of the big things that happened or you talked about in your session that you think you should say to everybody right now? So maybe Steve, if you go first, then we'll go to Joel, and then maybe follow up with Cheryl.
Yeah. So I think in our session, some of the big things that we talked about is the importance of preparing. Like spend time, like both researching the school, that the places that you're interested, the things that you're looking at, but also looking at like sample questions.
Yeah.
right? Like we even like did a quick view of like ChatGTP will run through and do something with you on this to give you practice.
Yeah.
It's important to not sound like ChatGTP, but like
Yep.
spend the time to do it, because from a recruiter side, I'm going to
Yep.
interview hundreds of people this year,
Yep.
right? Um, and if you come across knowledgeable and prepared and authentic and
Absolutely.
confident, you're going to pop up and be stronger.
Yeah, well said, Steve. I think we would all say that, and I think it probably came up in all our sessions. I remember when I was in Brazil, and I would consistently interview people, and I would say, "Why are you interested in coming to Brazil?" And they would say, "Because I want to practice my Spanish." Right? And then they would say, "I've always wanted to go down the Nile." And I just, it's just that encapsulates the lack of, and in today's world, I think you're right. The other thing, I've said this before, a candidate that is prepared should never have to go into an interview and say, huh, that's a great question. I hadn't thought of that. Because your AI partner and you should have thought of that.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, Joelle, how about you?
So we were exploring questions and behavioral and situational questions. So we had a little bit of time to practice. And I think what came forward from our processing, or I hope what came forward from our processing, is kind of like Steve was saying, doing your research, knowing the context, and then finding opportunities to share different stories or examples, or ask good questions to surface what you need to
Yeah.
know, because that interview goes both ways.
Yeah. Well, that definitely, we all talked about that. The candidate should be interviewing the school just as much, because when you're not interviewing the school, and these are the schools that want you to be there for 5 to 7 years, my analysis of that is that you may not be the long-term partner I want, because you're not putting in the work necessary for that. Cheryl, how about you?
Well, we started like a little bit before in that process, and that was kind of finding the right fit. So, like wondering what is it that you're looking for? Because a lot of times candidates feel like, pick me, pick me. But I really wanted to emphasize that it's as much about them picking a school
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Someplace that they will feel comfortable, someplace that they and their family, if they're coming with a
Yeah.
family, will feel comfortable. Um, so we looked at different criteria for like what is the right fit.
Right.
And I think that provides an interesting starting point, because first of all, it empowers the candidate, and it gives them, although I said, I have never like actually chosen the location or chosen the school. I've always like followed the position. So then we
Yeah.
talked about aligning yourself to
Yeah.
those different criteria.
Yeah, great response. It's one of those things, again, kind of a humorous story, real quick. When I was in Bombay, I would interview some people, like you said, Cheryl, about the family and the lifestyle fit. And in the questions about, so what do you all do as a family in the weekends? And, share kind of that stuff. And they start talking about trekking and hiking and camping and surfing. And I'm like, dude, you're talking about coming to Bombay? I mean, none of that's going to happen. I mean, if that is what's holding your family culture together, you should be looking at other schools, not Bombay. So it's that. And the other thing I think candidates need to be very honest about, if your child is an aspiring swimmer, and you're going to go to a school or a city that doesn't provide that kind of infrastructure for your child, how happy or unhappy are they going to be? And most importantly, your children's academic needs, right? If they are a high achiever, or if they are someone struggling, or they need occupational, or whatever that might be, they have to, that your number one priority is your family. So we're going to go with John and hear something from Scott. But meanwhile, if the other panelists can start looking in the chat and find a question that you might like to respond to, and then we'll just take turns doing that. John, tell us a big takeaway from your session.
Thanks, Craig. I think exactly what some of the other panelists, and Steve and Joelle and Cheryl, were saying. Really doing your homework and finding your own why. That book by Simon Sinek. I think really doing your homework to know who you are as a person. What are your values? If you have a family, what are your family values? And then we prioritize sort of in a sequence, the first order, second order, third order questions as you're doing your research before the fair on every school, just to make sure you've got the whole picture. And I feel too often, where people get lured into things like tax-free salary or sunshine every day, without actually doing the homework on the kind of school it is, the kind of leadership is there, the turnover or the nationalities, the things you talked about with, a fit for your family in terms of maybe it's learning support or things. So really doing your homework to make sure you've done everything you can to see if there is an alignment, and that value system that you use should guide you through this whole process. And I think it was Joelle who said, you're interviewing them just as much as they're interviewing you. So I think ensuring that value and alignment is there was kind of the key takeaway for our group.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a theme that's kind of building from Steve starting it and then kind of John right now. And I always, as the executive director of the GRC for 15 years, John, I've seen like brand new teachers that are now heads of school, right? I've seen them come out of the US, get their first job in Kuwait, and then I've seen them become a high school principal and this, that, whatever. I've watched this 15-year journey of so many educators. And I think one of the themes I hope you all are hearing from my colleagues is you need to have think of a strategic life plan. There's a time and a place for a young teacher. There's a time and a place and a job for a young family. There's a time and a place for, people without a family, single, young, single, middle-aged, single, veteran educators. There's a time and a place. And I think if you do what John just said, and if you get the right fit at a school, and now you're looking to move, the narrative should make sense. Because I always tell me the story of why you went to Frankfurt, why you were so happy at Frankfurt for 7 years, and why now you're looking to move, and why to India. Tell me the story, and it has to be authentic, and it has to be, and also I told them, Joelle, you've heard me say this, I've known Joelle forever. I don't want to hear dirty laundry from your past. Any candidate who walks in and starts talking crap on their past schools, I just shut up. It's done. It's not the right fit. We may have problems and we may feel bad, but we should have the dignity. Our international education world is very small, and we should have the grace and honor to deal with that. Scott, why don't you round us up and then we'll jump into questions.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think everything that I've heard it's either mentioned or dug into a little bit. So yeah, we're on the same page. I think the main thing for me, is at some point in every interview, you're going to be asked, what questions do you have for us? And so most of the questions we're going to ask the same for every candidate. You see where it goes, but that's the differentiator a lot of times. Like, what does this person value, and what are they asking about? And believe it or not, there's some do nots that you'd be surprised that people still do, and they get nervous sometimes. But how creative you can be and how you can kind of make the interviewer think and really dig into who their school's what their culture, their community is. That kind of is pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think it goes back, maybe Cheryl said this or Joelle, you need to come prepared with your 7 questions for Amman, Jordan. Not for all interviews, for Frankfurt International, right? You need to, because there are those questions you'll ask all schools. And for the most part, I'll tell you one more thing, and Scott, I'm glad you brought that up. If people take their last 15 minutes of my first interview with them to ask me questions that are blatantly available on our website, right? So tell me about the mission of your school. Now, if they were to ask, tell me about this thing about curiosity in your mission. How do you do that curiosity bit? That's a different question. So do your homework and have very specific personalized questions as per the school you're talking to. Great stuff, guys. Okay, with that, maybe let's just pop in. Anyone jump in and take a look at a question you might want to answer and go for it. And I'll start going through here too.
I don't mind jumping in. Ayanda and Kay both have kind of raised questions about bias, nationality. I think Julie said something about age. And I want to just throw out there, yes, all recruiters have biases. Like that, you're not wrong. And many recruiters are now leveraging tools to try to eliminate that bias. For example, at our school, we use Spark Hire, and we can cast a really wide net because that means we're not investing 30 minutes in every single candidate. they're investing time in doing a one-way interview for us that allows us to get to know them. And it does allow us to check our bias. We always interview in pairs because we hear different things. Like all of those things become important. And even with all of that, there are some nationalities in the country where I live that I cannot get a residency permit for. And that just is. It does, you could be the most amazing teacher in the world. And if I can't get you a residency permit, I just can't hire you. And so when we say we can't hire you for that reason, like we're not lying. We're not, it's not a bias that's gone unchecked. Like it is actually really true.
Yeah. And also, I think it's very important. By the way, you all know, and I bring this from my coaching sports background, right? You have to keep your adrenaline positive. You got to keep your game on, right? And you are going to have jobs that you wanted that you didn't get. I would say 90%, I'd love to hear my colleagues, 90% of the time it's not because of you, it's because of the fit the school's looking for. Right? Like right now, I only have one more position. I can't hire a married couple, right? Or right now, some schools they've given all of their scholarships away to faculty children and you have 3 kids. And they oftentimes won't share why, because they don't want to have that conversation. But the fact that you don't get a job shouldn't beat your confidence level down. Somebody else want to get a question?
Yeah, I'll jump in with one. There was Nicola asked a question about short-term placement or being a red flag on your CV. And I would look at it, say like a 1 or 2 year placement is not a red flag if you can explain authentically why it happened, right? Don't give me a story or a line, but like you could, like, even if your short-term placement was this was not a fit and the administration and I decided it was time to move on, is an acceptable answer. But don't just say, I was there for a year, I hated it, or like it's what we've said. Be positive, explain what really happened there, because not everywhere is the right fit for everybody. And I learned from that, and here's what I learned from it, and here's how I'm going to try to apply it to my next place. If you've got 10 one-year things on it, that's a little bit of a red flag. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah.
For me, that's a red flag. If you're 1 or 2 and out everywhere you go, that's a little bit of a red flag. It says to me, I'm going to take you for a year because you're probably going to be gone in a year.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, just to Steve's point, I think, again, I'm being extremely generic and my colleagues, chime in and correct me if you disagree. I think we can put all international educators into 3 general buckets. You have the first bucket that's like that 1 to 3 years in many different places, and you can call them in many ways tourists. Number 2 would be kind of like the legacy people that are there from like 5 to 10, where they come, they really build a program, they have left strategic imprint, they will be remembered, they've left a legacy. And third one is kind of like lifers. They moved to Guatemala as a young woman, they married a Guatemalan, they have a family, their kids are going through the same school, they're now, in the community. None of these are good, bad, or otherwise, they just are. And if you are going to be a tourist, and go 2 to 3, 2 to 3, 2 to 3, then just own that. And say, in my, like Steve said, in my sort of like life plan, I would love to go in and really work hard at a school for 2 to 3 years. And then my son and I'm a single parent, we want to go explore the world. I just love that authenticity and that honesty of that, right? But I also think I want to go back to John's point, because I saw a couple of questions. When you're at a good school and you're feeling really good about that, and you've done good work for 7 years and you're now moving, just why? And you're like, because I'm done in Germany. I just had an amazing time in Europe and I did this great stuff at the school. And after 7 years, now my kids are in middle school. We're looking for something with a very, very different educational pathways and just have the story. Yeah. Welcome back, everybody. I always feel like right when the breakout room closes, I'm just about to say the smartest thing I've said all day. I just feel like as soon as I'm just about to say that and it closes, I'm like, darn it, that was pearls. I had some pearls there. So at this point, we give a big round of applause to our panelists. Just amazing. So grateful to have all of you here. John, Steve, Cheryl, Joelle, Scott already left. An absolute deep gratitude from all of us. for your time. Look forward to having you back next year. Hope to bump into all of you at the GRC somewhere on the planet. This year, we're traveling all over the place. Stay in touch. Thank you very much. If all the candidates can stick around, we'll keep going with your questions for a bit longer. Namaskar, dhanyavad.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Ciao,
Thank you.
John. Give
Thank
Paul my
you.
best. Bye,
Thanks.
Steve.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
So for those of you that would like to stick around for a bit, Rubio's going to run you through a few informational pieces, and then we might just hang out for another 10 minutes and take some more questions. So over to you, Rubia.
Thank you, Craig. And I hope it was an insightful session for all of you here. I would just like to take you through our upcoming fairs that we have. We start with the Bangkok Fair, which is on the 25th and the 26th of October. Now, we already have more than 40 schools registered for the fair. We are hoping for more to join as the event gets closer. After that, we have the Thai Fair, which is on the 22nd of November, hosted by the Kasang American School. This is in Taiwan. Followed by the Atlanta Fair, which is at the Atlanta International School, co-hosted with AMISA. This is on the 13th and the 14th of December. And then we have another fair in Amsterdam in the month of January on the 24th and 25th. This is hosted by the International School of Amsterdam. So I encourage all of you to, join this fair, attend these fairs, because we want you all to take advantage of these opportunities to connect with schools and advance your career. It will be great if you could share this information with your friends and colleagues as well. As you know, it is a free service that we provide to our candidates. It is you can register with us for free, and you can attend this fair with us. Attend this fair free as well. So we really encourage you to ask your candidates and your colleagues and your friends to consider GRC. And that's about it from
Rubia,
me.
let me just say something, Rubia, about this right here. For those of you, if you need to be very careful about how you spend your time and your money, let me just give you a very stereotypical profile here. Bangkok Fair is for the world. You will have schools looking for candidates from the Americas, from Brazil, from Africa, from Canada, from all over the world. The Bangkok Fair is one of the most globally represented fairs that we host. The fair in Taiwan will be mostly Asian schools recruiting, probably, I would say, from India, Nepal, eastward through Japan. That's where those schools will be. The Atlanta Fair will be, for the most part, in Central and South American schools recruiting, and schools within the United States coming to recruit international educators. And you'll also pick up some schools from the Middle East that are members of the GRC, and they went to Bangkok, they went to Taiwan, and they still have openings, and they don't want to wait until the Christmas break. They'll go to Atlanta. And the fair in Amsterdam will be, for the most part, represented by European schools, because the reason we do Amsterdam in January is because many European schools, the teachers don't have to inform the schools about their intention until after the Christmas break. So they come back in January, and now they're looking for jobs, and the schools have openings. So anyway, just for you to kind of think about your own timeline and your priorities. Thanks, Rubia. Let's keep going.
Craig. So yeah, that's about it from me. I would just like to remind you that all this information is updated on our website. So kindly keep visiting the website for the list of schools that will be attending the fair.